So I only have two hard and fast rules about communication. One is never pass up an opportunity to offer a kind and gentle word. Number two, don't be an asshole. And, and that
I like how that's the second one. Welcome to The Pants Quandary, a podcast about how people navigate life with curiosity and creativity. And also where I get to be like Mr. Rogers, taking you on field trips to meet these people. I'm your host and resident nerd, Catherine Beeson. You can find me at catherinebeeson.com, or just find the link in the show notes. Happy nerding, stay curious. Two quick notes about this episode. First, we experienced a video malfunction a few minutes into our session, so you'll see a pretty awkward brick-in-the-face cut. Life hands you lemons, make the lemonade and enjoy it on the porch with a nice view. Secondly, as you observed in the opening moment, Russ has a dulcet, soothing tone of voice with which he occasionally pronounces some garden-variety coarse language in the most delightfully charming way. Still, if you're sensitive to fruity language, just be aware that there will be more of that, and none of it is bleeped out. We're recording today in a rural area of northern New York's Adirondack State Park, inside a place where, among other things, various legal matters are heard.
yes,
By you, my guest.
yes.
Brighton Town Justice, Russ DeFonce, thank you for being on my podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Well, it was an easy thing to ask, but I have to say, in full disclosure here, I've known you for many years as a concert-going music lover, a dedicated cat parent,
Yep.
and someone who does construction, or maybe you're a carpenter.
I actually I built custom furniture for about 20 years.
Okay.
And I've done carpentry, and I've done a variety of different things. I've cleaned sewers for a living. I could give you a long list of different occupations.
I am not one bit surprised to hear about that, but it wasn't until last year that I learned that you were a town justice.
Yep.
And so I want to put a real world high philosophy test of your judgment to you. I'm going to read into evidence here a tweet, and I want you to tell me if it's true or false, if there's a crime committed, who the guilty party is, and what their sentencing should be.
This is a lot of pressure.
The reason cats are so pissy is because they're God's perfect killing machines, but we keep picking them up and kissing them.
Okay.
So, true or false?
Having had a tremendous amount of direct experience with cats, that's true.
Is there a crime being committed here?
Depending on the viewpoint of the cat, if you're picking it up, it could be an assault 3. It could be considered a misdemeanor, depending on the response of the cat. So I think it's likely, yes. Cats, could be assuming that you are going to intend to do them harm. So that would be, quite possible.
Oh, we're getting into some serious stuff here.
Misdemeanor, yeah.
And then who's the guilty party in this crime? The tweet author, God, cats, all cats, just generally?
Definitely not the cats. I'm not about to blame cats because they will seek retribution upon me if the word gets out.
Is it a God problem? Should God not have created the perfect killing machine to be so small that we could pick them up and kiss them?
That's a really good question. Then it gets us down into the whole God question. Did God create cats, or are cats gods among themselves? And boy, that's a challenging one. Actually, we can't sentence him without being present, without giving him a Parker admonishment. So I got to think about paperwork here too.
Paperwork! Oh, I didn't consider that. All right, so cats totally blameless in this situation.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you for playing along. I wondered if you could give us just a resume highlight reel. You just started on one, but other than town justice, what are your sort of main things?
Well, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of credibility. So I've done a variety of different things over the years. Like I said, I've cleaned sewers, I've driven a cab, I've been worked in and around the trades. I taught economics. Feel free to roll your eyes and groan. Terrible subject, although I took a very, very different approach, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So a wide variety of different things.
Okay.
And then for about the past 8 years now, I've been working full-time as a mediator. New York's divided into 19 different regional community dispute resolution centers that are all nonprofits. We're not state agencies, but we are overseen and funded by the Unified Court System.
Okay.
And so I travel around all the different courts and I mediate a lot of civil cases so that hopefully they don't have to go in front of the judge and people have a voice in the resolution of those situations. Most rewarding work I've ever done. I do divorce mediation, custody visitation, workplace mediation, restorative practice work. I work with another agency called NISAMP, the New York State Agricultural Mediation Program, that does just agricultural issues. So I'll mediate farm issues, like I'll mediate between farmers and the USDA or other farm-related issues, and it's great. And then the fellow who was the town justice, who was here for 30 some odd years, was stepping down and called me and said, "You need somebody to fill in, and you've got experience with mediation and so on and so forth. You interested in taking the justice position?" And so I said, sure. I mean, it's an elected position, and a lot of these little towns you're running unopposed anyway.
Okay.
And so I can't say I won any great battle. I kind of drew the short straw. And but it's been fascinating. It's been a nice compliment to the mediation work because I'm in the courts and have worked in that world anyway.
So I did a small amount of research, and what's on the website here is, I'm just going to read it. It says, a town justice has jurisdiction in civil matters, small claims, eviction proceedings, civil hearings, and suppression hearings. A town justice also has jurisdiction in criminal matters up to pretrial felony hearings, which they say are violations and misdemeanors.
Yep.
Laws dealt with include, but are not limited to, penal, vehicle and traffic, parks and recreation, environmental conservation, public health, navigational, agricultural and market, and local laws. I mean, that list sounds like everything.
It does, but I mean, we're on the very low end of the justice system here, and low but not unimportant, because in the town and village courts, quite often, we're the only experience people have in court. And so, anything like a major felony, I can do arraignments and that sort of thing, but the actual trying of them gets kicked up to the higher courts, to the county courts and all that.
Okay.
But it's mostly traffic, mostly vehicle stuff that we have here. We get some criminal things, that type of thing. I might get called in the middle of the night occasionally to do an arraignment for, something, a variety of different crimes. But this is the starting point.
Right.
So there's a lot we can do. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But we're not super high level courts,
It's
but
just,
we are important.
For sure. And especially in a rural area. I mean, Brighton is 83 square miles and mostly forest land inside Adirondack State Park.
Yep.
And the estimated current population is 1,146.
And the thing about that is, I am pretty sure that they also count the college population, because Paul Smith's is in the town of Brighton.
That's what I was wondering.
So there's like 500-600 kids that they count as part of the population. So that's not necessarily year-round population. I mean, they're still here and they're people.
So there could be 500 or 600 people that live here year-round.
Yeah.
Another 500 or 600 that are attending Paul Smith's College.
Yep.
And those students have access to 14,000 acres of campus.
Yes.
That's within Brighton town.
Yes.
The town of Brighton.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this is a really interesting mix of population. It's a really interesting.
It is.
I would think it would afford some really interesting issues that could come up between the college and the year-round residents or the students, maybe.
It can.
Yeah.
It can.
When I was thinking about what we could talk about today, and what I'm interested to learn from you, is this kind of idea of handling conflict resolution in a rural area with a small enough population that literally everyone could have dinner together over the course of a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just wonder how tricky or weird it might be to be recognized as a neighbor and a friend and also the guy who hears all the dirty laundry.
Yeah. It can be interesting.
Yeah.
And I might bounce back a little bit between the judge side and the mediation side because
Yeah,
they are
totally.
interrelated. In my mediation work, we actually cover 4 counties. We cover Clinton, Essex, Hamilton, and Franklin counties.
Okay.
And so I'm all over the place. Like I do Plattsburgh City Court every other week. I'm in Malone quite a lot. I was in Port Henry down there. I've been mediating for that court for many, many years. And so, yeah, in small towns, you know people.
Yeah.
And so we are held by some very, very strict confidentiality standards.
Sure.
So if I end up doing a mediation with people that I do know, in urban areas, it's very easy for the mediators to recuse themselves. Gee, because I know this person slightly. Around here, it's a little bit different because otherwise we wouldn't be mediating for anybody.
Exactly.
So it's a matter of making everybody, reassuring everybody of my confidence and my neutrality in dealing with them. Giving them the opportunity to say, hey, no, I'd rather not have you mediate. And then I've got a colleague in the Rural Law Center that I work with, Sally Meisenheimer, who's just fantastic.
Yeah.
She's a great mediator and wonderful person, and she and I have had a nice working relationship. And every now and then, one of us will, hey, I've got a case, I can't do it, I'm too close, can you? And so you refer it to somebody else so the service is still available to people. They can still get some help in straightening out whatever their issues are.
Do people stop you? I mean, there's no kind of stopping on the street here, pretty much. But do people stop you and say, "I got an issue. What do you think about X, Y, Z?"
All the time.
Yeah.
I'll get phone calls and people will tell you their story for 2 hours. We also do what we call one-on-one conflict coaching. If the other party doesn't want to mediate, we can still work with that person as a neutral and help them work through the thought process of conflict so that they are making their own decisions. I don't. On the bench, I have to make decisions as a mediator. I don't make decisions for people.
Right.
I facilitate conversations where hopefully they can come to a self-determined conclusion. But I do get stopped on the street.
It's got to be an awesome responsibility, to juggle all that kind of stuff and to feel that you could literally be everyone's resource.
Yeah, and you have to take it very seriously because what can become routine for me, I mean, I've done, even just small claims and landlord-tenant cases, well over 1,000. And you can't become jaded by that. You have to understand that this is the first time for each person that approaches you or each group of people, and that they need some help with communication and with figuring things out. And so you have to realize it might be the millionth time for me, but it's the first time for them.
Right.
And these issues are in their heart.
Yeah.
And you got to respect that.
That I love that point of view that it may be the millionth time for you, but it's the first time for them.
Yeah.
Weirdly, that resonates with me as a performing musician who interprets things that are 200 years old, that a million interpretations have occurred.
Yeah.
I may have, played it a million times, but there's definitely going to be somebody in the audience for whom it's the first.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You do this same show all over the place a bazillion times, but there's so many people there that they're excited that's fresh to them.
It could very well be the first time they've heard that thing, even though, there are 30 million recordings of it available. And, I think too, people are messy, and the situations that we create are as messy as well.
Oh God, yes.
And the best kind of mediation, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like everyone gives up a little bit of something, so maybe no one feels like they won, but it's possible to remain professional or kind or empathetic or maybe even friendly at the end of a mediation.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting because it's not always what people think. Kind and empathetic is crucial.
Yeah.
It's about understanding. The goal of mediation is not agreement, which might sound weird. It's not always about compromise. It's about understanding. And you brought up a good point when you said, well, somebody might feel like they won. Quite often, what I will do with people is say, hey, mediation has nothing to do with competition. Try to take the language of competition off the table. And I'll say, if you're hyper-competitive, leave that at the door for this discussion, please. It's about understanding each other. It's about listening. Doesn't mean you have to agree. Doesn't mean you have to believe what that person said. Although I heard a great, I was reading Rick Rubin's book, A Creative Act, and he's got a great quote in there about, he defines true listening as the suspension of disbelief. Because you might be listening to someone, particularly today where our the world is so disparate, and you've got listening to somebody who's got a different view on whatever, and you might think, this person's full of shit. And but if you can suspend that disbelief and realize that's a truth for that person, even though it's bullshit to me, that's a truth for them, and approach it with curiosity.
Right.
How did they get there? What events affected them to get to that completely opposing view?
Yeah.
So it's about really kind of delving into new levels of communication. I'm dealing with angry people very, very frequently, particularly some of the divorce and custody visitation mediations we do. And you try to bring some kindness to it. You know, like I tell people, nobody is an expert on communication.
Oh my gosh.
If they tell you they are, they're full of it.
Yeah.
Because we all have to work on it. And so I only have 2 hard and fast rules about communication. One is never pass up an opportunity to offer a kind and gentle word. Number 2, don't be an asshole. And, and that
I
is
like how that's the second one.
and that's about self-awareness.
Yeah.
That's about, gee, am I approaching this kindly? Am I? Everybody laughs at that, but then I'll explain. That's about, you know, can we bring self-awareness to this?
In your role as a justice, you said you make decisions. And in your role as a mediator, you don't.
Yep.
And I'm wondering how those two, how it's advantageous or disadvantageous to have both of these things, you know, happening for you in your positions.
It's interesting. You know, when I was a mediator for a long time before I became a justice, there was definitely a mindset shift in having to make decisions. But I believe that mediation brought me a gentler mindset to the bench because I try to listen. I'm not there to be punitive. I'm there to hopefully find solutions and hopefully help people work things out.
Right.
So I don't mediate from the bench. I refer to mediation. I can't mediate my own court, but I'll call my colleague Sally if I've got a civil case or something. And you know, I like to give people the opportunity to work things out themselves ahead of time, because 9 times out of 10, you know, if I have to say you do this and you do that, somebody's going away angry, and I don't want that to happen.
Right.
You know, going back to what you talked about as it pops into my feeble gray matter, and about mediation, just, you know, somebody gives something up, somebody doesn't. A mediator that I worked with years ago, again, we were talking about successful mediations, and one of her definitions of a successful mediation was nobody walks away feeling diminished. And that always sticks in my head, and it sticks in my head on the bench. Yeah. So they're very different mindsets, but they're complementary. Yeah. And sometimes you run into, you know, I'm on the bench, I want to mediate this, and I've got a different role. Yeah. And so I have to be well aware of those 2 roles. I can bring skills from each role to the other. Yeah.
You mentioned something when we were setting up about, did you say Blackstone's
ratio.
Yeah,
ratio. And I'm going to preface this by saying I've not read a huge amount of Blackstone, and I want to. He was an 18th century writer about law and so on and so forth. And I need to, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not well educated in law. I'm not well educated in anything. I'm an ignorant old fart. And
I disagree. I totally disagree.
No, the older I get, the more I've done that. I don't know if you're familiar with Richard Burton, the 19th century explorer.
Very little.
I won't bore you with that, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
But he had a great quote from one of his poems. It said, "With ignorance wage eternal war, to know thyself forever strain. Thine ignorance of thine ignorance is thy fiercest foe and thy deadliest bane." And so I've always tried to be aware of the fact that, boy, do I have a lot to learn. Yeah. And so I don't have a huge formal law background, which I think on one respect helps on the bench. In other places it can be challenging because there's jargon I have to learn and all this other stuff. But it's fun that I have to learn it.
Right.
And so I have not read a lot of Blackstone. Blackstone's ratio is saying that it's more important to protect the innocent than it is to punish the guilty. And so what it does in my mind reminds me that I try to take a restorative approach to the bench much more than a punitive.
Yeah. I thought that was really, really interesting because of the word punish.
Yeah.
You know, and because I know words are tricky and everybody has an opinion about words and they should.
Yeah.
Okay. But consequence is a sort of a natural occurrence after a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily punishment.
Right.
But we associate consequence and punishment kind of in the same bucket sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then this idea of restorative justice, or even what justice is. Okay. I mean, now we're really peeling away some layers of the onion, and hopefully this onion stays tasty. But this idea of restoring balance, or restoring, I don't know, just giving something a healing kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah. No, I'd say restorative justice kind of reflexively, and I almost want to start more using the language restorative practice.
Practice, yeah, okay.
And because, again, it takes a little bit of the punitive language out of it and leans us towards the healing. Quite often at the end, you'll get, oh, shit, why didn't we have this discussion years ago?
Yeah.
Because we don't know how.
Well, and I mean, it's so easy to assign blame, make a sentencing or a consequence or a, whatever you're gonna write, a punishment.
Yep.
And then sort of, close that chapter and move on. That may feel like the easy thing to do.
Yep.
But that doesn't fix the problem.
Exactly.
And it's also a little uncomfortable sometimes to, I think, I'll speak for myself. I find some serious discomfort, and I can't believe I'm alone in this, when I offer the opportunity to someone that I perceive as injurious, right? The opportunity to give that person space, right? Because then I'm extending empathy, and by extending empathy, I'm saying, I am like you.
Exactly.
You are like me.
Yeah.
I don't like that about you.
Yep.
I probably have some of that in my own self, Yep. And so, this is, and as someone who lives in a world of the arts all the time, I find that really also interesting because it's a high empathy practice.
Oh yeah.
And so you would think I would be good at
it. You would be.
Yeah.
People like yourself in the arts that can do what you do, and I feel just really humbled when I sit and watch that, because you've got this wonderful voice that you're using and sharing that gift with people, and that the arts are so important today.
I can't begin to appreciate enough what you're saying right now, because I of course I think that that's true, and it's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility that I think most of us take incredibly seriously.
Yeah, and it is. I've got a theory. Again, I fully believe we should be teaching more of the arts than anything else, and I've got a theory that we need to tear down our business schools, and because business is the way that so many of us interact with one another, and the exchange of money and all this other crap, that we need to re-examine our emotional relationship with business, take the competitiveness out of it, and put a gentler, more artistic voice into how we interact with one another. But the business world has such an impact culturally on how we interact with one another, and it's not a healthy impact. Just look at the violence in the world that's caused over the decision over resources and all that other crap.
Yeah.
And this is why the arts have to be kept alive.
It is all about communication and interpretation of our world.
Yeah. I sit there awestruck when I'm like, how did they do that? Yeah.
But also just, from the point of view of a listener coming into an experience, or a person coming into a group experience with maybe some expectations or biases.
Yep.
And then having those either reinforced or sort of a shock experience. This is not what I thought it was going to be.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so moderating and mediating that probably is pretty interesting. I think, getting back to what we were talking about, this offering space, a safe environment in this circle that you were describing for the harmed person to be able to just speak on it.
Yeah.
And then you have to also offer space and hold space for the person perceived to have done the harm to hear that, hear it, and then potentially be able to respond at some point.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And there's not, I feel like there's not a lot of patience often for that, to give a person who's perceived to have done harm, especially if it's very clear. And we're talking about forgiveness too in some ways, and so this is a hot topic because it's a thing that people walk less than they talk.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And so, because the walking part is the hard part.
Yeah.
It's the hard part.
Yeah. Some people are just not constitutionally capable of having that civil discussion. In a perfect world, I would love to think that everybody could sit down and offer those kind words and not be an asshole.
Right.
And sometimes that happens. My real hope is that we planted a seed that we might not live long enough to see germinate.
Right.
And you hope that those people, when they move on to other situations, they've learned something from that experience.
Right.
It might even be subconscious.
Sure.
About a gentler way and a healthier way of communicating, because conflict can be creative. And how do we approach it as a creative force? How do we get those heels undug?
So you have to create an environment. Whether, I would assume it would be different when you're on the bench.
Yes.
Versus mediating.
Yep.
But you have to create an environment in which people, really feel like they can trust that you are unbiased, that you are coming at this from an angle of, I'm trying to help you to communicate.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you set the tone? You said at the end you thank people.
Yeah.
What do you do at the beginning?
All right, absolutely. The opening statement is really crucial. It's important. Particularly in mediation. On the bench, they kind of know you're the authority and it's your show. Sure. In mediation, the opening statement is really important. There's certain elements that we have in there, about confidentiality, neutrality, things that we go through. But that's where you set the tone that even though I don't make the decisions, this is still my room. Because I can shut down a mediation if it gets to the point where it's not going anywhere.
Sure.
Or where it looks unsafe or the power dynamic just isn't good. We've got that. So you still have, a certain amount of gravitas, but you set the tone that, okay, you're not authoritarian. If you have any authoritarian leanings, you shouldn't be doing mediation or be on the bench as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And, but you set the tone and you explain, hey, everybody's going to have an opportunity to speak. Please don't interrupt one another, so on and so forth.
Ground rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's opening statement is vitally important to really get the ball rolling.
So you're
here.
setting expectations, basically.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then that's usually some of the small claim to court cases, that sort of thing. Say I'm doing something more complex. Let's a divorce or a workplace mediation or something. And if I meet with the people individually first, that's where a lot of that introductory and tone setting can be set. And then when we get together formally, then I'm not a stranger at that point. And there's been, those expectations have been set in a couple of steps.
Right.
And it works pretty good. Well, they did one mediation where it was great. I was doing it was a business and transition discussion.
Okay.
There wasn't really any conflict, but it was a small business owner selling a business to 2 employees. Okay. And they wanted somebody to help facilitate the discussion. They didn't have any conflict, but they knew, hey, these things could get that way.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we have a...
That's so healthy.
Yeah, it was great. When people come to me proactively, I love it.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a few series of discussions. It finally got to the point where I said, you folks don't really need me here. But they would bring pizza, and they insist I bring my dog, and all this. And they said, no. I said, I don't, you guys are great. You're communicating beautifully. And they said, having you here, having that third party just in the room.
Right. It
So I
keeps
just
things
had to
above
be
board.
there.
Yeah.
It just gives us a sense of stability here.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
Yeah, it's a different kind of audience than the one where you're looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
now you're, I don't know, you're bringing in, your professional version of yourself, even with pizza and the dog. you
Yeah.
know?
So there were snacks, and it was good.
There were snacks. I'm seeing that you maybe unintentionally have guided your own self toward mediation. What did you do before that might have helped you make that decision?
Oh, God, nothing of any major cultural significance, that's for sure. I had done some teaching. I think there's a certain amount of natural ability there, because I'd always kind of been the one that everybody poured their hearts out to. And it's like my wife said she was going to have business cards printed up for me that said Russ DeFonce calming influence. And so I've done a wide variety of things over the years. Sure. And I think that kind of eclectic background has helped hugely in landing a mediation.
Right.
And
like context building, just experiences to think about. I mean.
Oh yeah, just some of the occupations I've
Right.
had,
Yeah.
and literally several dozen of them.
Right. And encountering different people that think differently too. Right?
Without a doubt,
Sure.
without a doubt. We're working with all kinds of different people, and just seeing the humanity in everybody.
Have you mostly lived in rural areas, Russ?
No. I grew up in the vast quagmire of suburban mediocrity down in Connecticut, but I won't say I grew up, because I advise against growing up. It's not good for you. Maturity is not a good strategy. It's not, and the older I get, and I see how serious people get, and the affectations that they try to present to the world.
My God, now
relax, be
life
yourself.
is too short. I think you said, I may be old, but I'm not mature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all of that kind of led to mediation, and I'd been teaching. I taught economics on a college level, and I loved working with the kids.
Yeah.
Never had kids of my own by choice, best decision I ever made. But I love young people. They have so much to teach us.
Yeah.
They have new perspectives, and we owe them.
Yeah, that's
When I
true.
hear- when I
Both
hear
of those
peop-
things are true.
When I hear people bitch about young people, it pisses me off, because we created the world they're living in.
That's right.
We are complicit.
That is exactly right.
We are complicit, and
Yeah.
we have a responsibility to help them navigate that.
And also to listen to them so that we can do that navigation.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Economics.
Yeah.
Was
So-
that your main area of study? Did you go to college?
Unfortunately, yes. It was terrible. It was the worst experience of my life. My father browbeat me into it. I was actively trying not to get in, and my plan was working well. I screwed up the SATs. I would go to these college interviews and say, don't accept me.
What an interview.
And one school did, and it was just terrible. And I think my father paid them off, and because he was very old school, and he had gone to school on the GI Bill. He was the son of an Italian immigrant, and college was,
that was the thing.
it was dogma to him.
Yeah.
And I found it was a hindrance to my education, because I very autodidactic, and it was like, my God, I got to spend. I could be in a library someplace reading. I could be going to a museum. I could be, and I found it very stifling. And so anyway, I was browbeaten into an undergraduate degree in biology, and then I made a major mistake of getting an MBA, thinking that because I'm an independent sort, that I learn everything I can about how to run a business. I could work for myself and be left the hell alone. Yeah. And
what a concept.
And I walked out of there scratching my head saying, I just paid how much money for this?
Yeah.
And it was, so it was not good. And so I did, but reluctantly so.
Yeah.
And
but then you taught economics. You must have had some interest in it.
I had an interest in teaching. Teaching as a learning vehicle. As much as I hated college, teaching was wonderful. Yeah. Because when you teach something, then there's all these new perspectives.
Yeah,
I used to tell my students, I might have 50, 60 kids sitting in a class. I said, I'm getting a better deal than you guys. All you're getting is one perspective. I've got 60.
Yeah.
I'm getting you all these views. And so it forces you to look at the world. And the approach I took was more about life than about economic dogma.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a very different approach. It was, how do we challenge some of these accepted theories and ways of looking at things? And how do you take this to the streets? Because to me, education should not be about molding you to fit society. It should be about opening your mind so that you can bring your authenticity into contributing to and challenging society.
Russ, you are amazing.
No, I'm full of shit as a Christmas goose.
Should we be? I mean, we should all be so lucky to be full of shit as a Christmas goose if it means that we are thinking the way that you're thinking. I have loved this conversation so much.
Well, as have I.
I think I just have maybe one more question for you. Now,
Okay.
I asked you a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and so now that we've talked,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you the same question. Okay, so the title of the podcast is The Pants Quandary.
Right.
What do you think the podcast is about now?
Okay. My initial response was, what to wear in the morning. And I'm not 100% sure, but really what I think it's about is, again, good, heartfelt communication, the spirit of learning from one another. And I believe that these types of conversations, even whether it's one-on-one or whether it's a million people, are valuable.
Yeah.
The more people can sit down and just authentically chat back and forth.
Yep.
And have some curiosity and, explore those differences. How are you different from me? That's cool. How can I learn from that? Not you're different from me.
Yeah.
And
we are all in the same bucket.
yeah, exactly. And so it's about little exploration of our own views and so on and so forth. And how do we, that quandary, how do we really communicate? How do we do that? And by just sitting and relaxing and, a good old-fashioned bullshit session. And we need those.
I love it. I will take that. Thank you so much.
Thank
this
you.
has been great.
Yep, thank you.
Oh my
This
God,
is
I'm so glad we
been a
made this
pleasure.
happen.
Yeah, I am as well. And I'm honored. Like I said, I don't have much really to offer the world, but whatever it is.
Russ, I
I'm
think
flattered.
what you're doing here is amazing, and I think what most of us do on this planet is amazing.
It really is.
And I think it's amazing that any of us is even here.
Yeah.
But it's just been incredibly enriching way for me to spend this part of my day, and I really, really appreciate the time that you've taken.
Well, thank you.
And thank you again for playing along with the cat court.
Okay, I love cats. So me and Mark Twain, I love cats.
I love that. I just love that I got to even have cat court in here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Cat court's vitally important. Yes.
cat court is vitally important. And that's the episode. Super duper thanks to Russ DeFonce for rolling with my cat court setup and being so gracious about the video going haywire in the middle of recording. And thank you, watchers, for coming along on that janky ride as well. Like my great-grandma Matsy would say, live and learn, die and forget it all. Which I always took to be sort of like that dog in the house fire sipping coffee and saying, this is fine, this is all fine. The Pants Quandary is a brand new podcast. Thank you for listening. Special thanks to Matthew Ward for the cover art, to Jessica Mays for composing and mixing the theme music, to Susanna Klein, Sonia Stith-Williams, and Jordan Gunn for recording it, and to my cat Roxy for reminding me I've been sitting down too long obsessing over the editing process. Or maybe she's hungry. Either way, it's nice having a cat. If you like what I'm up to, please consider becoming a Backstage Pass subscriber. Your support helps keep me going, literally and figuratively. I'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks. Until then, talk to strangers, listen to children, touch some plants, and go find the sun on your face for a minute or two.